Let's take a look at some charts on EOS from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So over the past 3 months, 5 months, feels like forever, that kind of nothing's going on with EOS. I mean, they had EOS Rex, they had the voice platform, which was released in a private beta and a public beta, and not even on EOS, but it's block 1 related. And all in all, not much has really happened with EOS, even in price. You can see this is all the market caps of the top 10. For some reason, Link and Tezos won't show up on TradingView, which is why they're missing here, but EOS has kind of just stagnated as ADA has risen pretty hard. XLM, Link as well, again, not on here, but it's risen pretty hard as well. And EOS has kind of just done a bunch of nothing. The validators on the EOS chain, again, are mostly in Asia, which is a centralization problem. Many of these are exchanges, which is a governance and centralization problem. Maybe 50% of these are exchanges. Let's see. Definitely WhaleX, Bitfinex, Nudex, Huobi, OKEX. Okay, so at least a third are exchanges. But the point is, if we're using the proof of stake validator argument against proof of work because we think proof of stake is more decentralized and it's going to have less governance issues, and you look at this list and it's like, okay, most of these are in Asia, a big swath of these are exchanges. There's some issues there. We don't know how many of these are actually running full nodes, which is sort of required for the full history of all of the DApp transactions on the chain. So it's kind of just a mess. Like, I can never find the number of full nodes on the chain. I can never find the size required for a full node. So unless I actually run my own full node on EOS, I don't know how big it is. I don't know if it's possible to even sync up with the network, how much time that takes. So there's all sorts of issues with EOS, especially when you look at the number of transactions it has per day and the fact that the transactions are free. So although it might sound as though this type of network is better than everything else, it definitely has its issues. If we look at the total value staked, EOS is 60% of the network staked, and it's slightly less notional value than Tezos, but pretty much the second largest compared to everything else. Even these new ones, SNX, Atom, Algo, DOT, these are all fairly new. Dash is a much older coin, NEM, much older coin, and Trex, Tron, TRX, kind of in the middle of that. I think it's older than Dash, or younger than Dash, but older than Atom, SNX, Algo, DOT. This isn't going to tell me much from a bullish or bearish perspective, other than there's really not much else to do with EOS, other than staking, buy and hold, similar to Tezos. Tezos has less DApps on it than I can find than even EOS. There's not really much else to do with Tezos at the moment. If we look at transactions per day and blocks produced per day, you can see there was this massive airdrop towards the end of last year, and the network got all screwy because it couldn't handle the transaction load. Blocks per day went way down, transactions per day kind of recovered in that they just stopped transacting. The network just kind of halted a little bit. But now it's recovered since the January lows, and it's back in the previous range of multi-million transactions per day, between 4 and 5 million. This actually looks more organic to me because there's less variation day to day. Anytime you see these big rises, big spikes, big drops, it's generally not sustained user activity. So no matter what's happening here, it's probably more organic than it used to be in 2019 anyway. So in a vacuum, that's bullish. If we look at the DApps, most of them are gambling. In the top 10 here, Nudex clearly has the most volume, tenfold to the nearest gambling DApp. Most of these might be scams. I don't know. You'd have to go one by one individually, but they don't sound on the up and up. Big game, especially. Maybe these are just card games. I don't know, but always something to look out for. When if you compare EOS DApps to ETH DApps, where ETH DApps are expensive, mostly DeFi. Some of them definitely scams, but I think that's part of the maturity of the chain. You're starting to see some DeFi stuff. I've never heard of this equilibrium thing, but that'd be something to watch for EOS in the future. Is most of the volume transitioning to something else other than gambling? If you look at the Google trends for block.1, I think is what I searched, or EOS.io, something. Either way, it's down historically. It hasn't really peaked at any point in time in the past 2 years. That's really been anything worth mentioning. Looking at technicals for EOS USD, Bitfinex long shorts at the top here, RSI at the bottom, VPVR on the side here, 50-200 EMAs, yearly pivots, and volume. Volume's definitely way down on Bitfinex. historically from where it used to be. Not a great sign in general for the exchange or for this pair. The 50 and the 200 have mostly been cross bearish since mid-2018. It had two kind of small pops and didn't really go anywhere. It does have a chance, like I mentioned in the article, for bullish momentum here, as the 50-200 cross might flip bullish for the third time ever. There's lots of VPVR resistance on the way up, 355, 8. It's going to need a lot of momentum to get through all this, but the trend looks like it might have a chance within the next month. RSI, nothing remarkable there. Yearly pivot resistance at 450, at 6. So there's a lot of upside resistance here. And Bitfinex long shorts are like 96% long at this point, 91%, whatever it is. So there's definitely a long squeeze here if prices go lower, but right now it just doesn't look like, it just looks like accumulation for markup at this point. It's a nice little pitchfork from 2018, and this is one of the better ones. If you look at the Bullish Link pitchfork and that it stayed within the pitchfork for the past 2 years, this is kind of the opposite, where since the downtrend began in 2018, it just hasn't been able to shake this. It stayed above the upper half since early 2019. The trend has still been down, 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 down. It needs to break this $3 level basically to have a third attempt at breaking this bear trend. So that's definitely a key level I'd be watching, along with this bullish 50-200 cross. Otherwise, it's back to the median line, and worst case, it's retesting this low here. Cloud kind of looks medium in that it's not super, super bear. You got the bullish cloud here. Has a chance again if it breaks above the cloud just by slamming sideways. And 347, 350 is the level I'd watch for, which is basically the 50% retrace of the February-March high-low. And lastly, if we look at EOS BTC, it looks more bear than EOS USD does. This looks like it wants to mean revert to this VPVR level and to this 200. So it looks like it has much less of a chance than a bull run than EOS USD does. There's this 8-month consolidation period that kind of drifted down below, so it's now going to have to deal with that on the way up, which is represented in this VPVR volume node here. So it's probably going to have to regrind in this level to have a chance at anything higher within the next 6 months. Like, I really don't see this going anywhere unless something miraculous happens. And again, this Bitfinex volume is just pretty sad. Just kind of down to nothing. So fundamentals are kind of bullish, I guess. There's not really been much news on the EOS front, despite several attempts at some sort of fundamental thing, like the Rex and voice stuff. Technicals for EOS USD look okay. I wouldn't really get too excited about them until $3. And EOS BTC just looks like it wants to mean revert back to like 35,000 sats, something like that. So overall, not too exciting on EOS this go around.